Well, nice to be here again this evening. Enjoyed everybody's comments. And you want to thank Brother Snoddy. It's hard to do a study in the Revelation book in 45 minutes. We appreciate that. It's a difficult thing, and such nice comments you had. We certainly appreciated that, and we know it enhances our faith to share in that discussion. Now, before we get into our theme there, youths, are your goals leading you to success? We promised you a little bit of a report card, a couple of statistics for what it's worth, and so this is what you've been doing the last 6 months. And I think you're going to be pleased with this. In fact, in all counts, you're on the upswing. You're pretty consistent when it comes to meeting attendance, but overall, between all of the meetings, you average about 100%, pretty close, just under. So that's fantastic. Now, one meeting dips pretty low. And anybody want to venture a guess as to which one it is? Somebody guess. Charles, go ahead.
Book study.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought it would have been. But it was actually I kind of cheated there. It was two meetings. It's the Theocratic Ministry School, and the service meeting is the one that dips a little bit. And so you might think about that in the future, but we know that you're doing what you can. In fact, all of your hour averages. In fact, I went back a little ways, and you guys have always been right at the national average, which is a tremendous thing. But guess what you've done this round? You crested to 11 hours. Now, that's fantastic. 11 hours on average in the ministry per publisher, 6.7 magazines. You held steady from the last visit. You're giving out or making an additional return visit, 4.4 return visits on average, and you're all conducting half a Bible study with half a person. So, you put them all together, and that's a lot of Bible studies, though. So there's a lot there. Now, you know where you fall in that realm. You know what your averages are in there. Some are well above it, some are right there, some are a little below it. And we could tell you work on this or work on that, but you know what the governing body wants us to tell you? In fact, they told us this 20 years ago in the Watchtower in the time of the end. In fact, it was the 86 Watchtower, January 15th, page 19. And you know what they feel that we needed then and we still need today? Here's a quote from that. And they say, Satan's system is always more than ready to make a Christian feel inadequate. At this point in our race for life, our brothers need not critics, but friends to cheer them on to victory. And isn't that what we need? And so if you can just do that, you cheer one another on to victory, you keep doing what you can, sooner or later we're going to be on the other side of Armageddon. And we're going to have a much different work, restoring the earth. So we'll do what we can there and just cheer one another on to victory. Young or old, it doesn't matter. Do what you can, support one another. Now we want to turn our attention to that specific subject matter, and I don't know if you can see what I have here, if you're way in the back, but it's a rose. It's a pretty flower. And one man said, in response to the question, what is art? He said, it's the delicate bloom of the rose. And then another man, a poet, he said this, he said, whoever wouldn't be grateful for a rose, he wouldn't be grateful for anything. And then some of you brothers, maybe you remember this line. Maybe you tried it on the girl you're married to. A rose by any other name. And you know the rest of it. But as we consider the beauty of a rose, though, its delicate nature, its inspiration, doesn't it very well represent the beauty of our youth, of young people? I mean, think of our young people. You look around the hall. They're beautiful. They're colorful. They're vibrant. They have energy. They have so much to give. In fact, as you look around, isn't it nice to have young people with us? Wouldn't you like to welcome them and tell them that we appreciate what they're doing? It's nice to have them, and you have tremendous youth here, young people. Now, we have one congregation we're going to serve, and I don't know what we're going to do, because I think they have like one young person, and he's 50. So it's going to be a difficult task. We may have to import a few of you, just so that they know what we're talking about here. But we're going to admit something to you, youth in particular, that being a rose, being this beautiful, and staying one, those are very different things, because I don't know if you know it. You're probably aware of this. But right now, there are elements working in this system of things to basically denude our young people of their beauty. And in fact, you know what they're doing? You know what Satan is doing right now? What the devil is trying to do? He's trying to take our young people and basically tear them apart, petal by petal. That's his only objective, just rip them apart, because he doesn't care anything about your beauty. In fact, you know his only goal, the devil's today? It's to make young people, our youth, ugly in Jehovah's eyes. Now, that's what the devil wants. That's what his system wants for our young people. He wants to rob you of your beauty. But Jehovah wants just the opposite. In fact, he wants three things for our youth today. And before we go on, we just have to say that we're using an expanded definition of the term youth, because when we think about youth, that many of you youth, you young people in the audience, you might be in the single digits. You might be from 0 to 9. You may have hit the double digits, and you may be a teenager even a young adult. You could be a young married couple, even with small children, that still have a lot to do in the way of choices and how you're going to make yourself useful to Jehovah, goals that you might pursue. So we have that huge group. And then we have the other group, those that are young at heart, who still want to give everything they can to Jehovah. So in application, this works for everybody. But specifically, we're going to focus on some of the young people, our youth. And as we mentioned, Jehovah wants three things for you. And so the first one that we want to look at, that we want to consider, is found in the book of Ecclesiastes. So go to Ecclesiastes chapter 11 with me. Ecclesiastes 11, and when you get there, head for the end of the chapter, Ecclesiastes 11 and verse 9. And we're just looking at that opening phrase. In fact, we just want one verse out of it. And the first thing Jehovah wants for you, he wants you to rejoice, he says, young man or young woman, in your youth. So rejoice. He wants that for you. One translation says, be happy in your youth. And so that's what Jehovah wants for our young people. The number thing he wants for you is to rejoice or to be happy in the days of your young manhood or your young womanhood. He wants that for you. And then there's a few other things he wants in addition to that. Go back to Genesis chapter 39. And here we're going to find in chapter 39 of the book of Genesis the second and third things that Jehovah wants for young people today, for youth that want to find success in life. In fact, that's the second thing he wants for you. Look at verse 3, there, Genesis chapter 39. You'll remember we're speaking about Joseph. Joseph is a young man. He's on his own. He's removed from home. He's down in Egypt, and here's what's observed about him. It says, and his, or Joseph's master, got to see that Jehovah was with him, and that everything he was doing, Jehovah was making turn out what? Successful in his hand. So Jehovah wants you as young people, as youth. He wants you to be happy. He wants you to rejoice. And he wants your life, your youth, to be a success. To not have to look back with any regrets. And then the third thing he wants for you, still in chapter 39, go over to verse 6. Fits in with our rows nicely. The latter part of it, last sentence. Moreover, Joseph grew to be beautiful in form and beautiful in appearance. So think of that. This is what Jehovah wants for you. He wants your youth to be successful. He wants you to be happy. And he wants you to be beautiful, and he wants you to stay that way. And sometimes when we think about those things, especially when we think about beauty, we think about the external features, and we think about what we are on the outside, externally. And we think, well, we have to be on the cover of a magazine. We have to be toned and fit and tan and all these kind of things, But that's not necessarily what Jehovah's looking for here, because beauty really deals with the spirituality of a person. Because if you are a truly spiritual individual, if that's where you're pointed, that's where you're going, no matter what your external features highlight, then you're going to be successful. You're going to be beautiful in Jehovah's eyes. See, and that's what he wants. It's so opposite of what the world wants, because they want to take your beauty, and once again, they just want to rob you of it. They want to take these petals, and they just want to pull them apart, and they want to tear you limb from limb. They care nothing about your beauty in that capacity. And that's what we have to discuss. We want to discuss goals that are going to not only lead you to success, but help you to keep your beauty in Jehovah's eyes in all facets of life. And so when it comes to that, to the direction you're going in, if you want to be successful, you want to be happy, you want to maintain your beauty, then there's something that as a young person you absolutely must, you just have to do. And nobody else can do this for you. Go to Romans chapter 12. And this is something that your parents can help you with, the others in the congregation, the elders, traveling brothers, the publications, the Bible, but ultimately, you, as a young person, have to do this for yourself. So go to Romans chapter 12, and we're interested in verse 2. And you'll remember the first part of this makes a good point. Yes, do this as well. And quit being fashioned after this system of things, but be transformed by making your mind over. But now here's our point, that you may prove to yourselves the good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So if you're going to maintain your beauty, if you're going to be happy, not just in your youth, but in your adult life as well. In fact, at times